That didn't hurt, did it?
No, it didn't. Senator Fawcett.
I reckon you should be the minister, Mr. Murdoch.
Mr Doherty, last estimates I asked you about the planning process and particularly as it applied to Archerfield in terms of calculating runway length. You undertook to take on notice to look at the process, including CASA's approach, which they'd taken on notice just the night before. Did you have a look at CASA's response to that question?
Senator, at this stage we haven't gone through that issue in detail. I think what's important here is that the runway proposal at Archerfield has not been approved at this stage. While it's indicated as their idea in the master plan, it would need to go through a major development proposal to be approved.
Yep, sorry, can I just cut you off in the interest of time? Yep. I've got that in your written answer from last time. What I'm seeking to clarify is that in the Manual of Standards 139, section 6221, it says the length of a runway must be adequate to meet the operational requirements of the aeroplanes for which the runway is intended. Is it a reasonable assumption that at Archerfield that includes the current fleet of aircraft to operate, things like King Airs, Navajos, Conquests that operate out of Archerfield?
Senator, that's the sort of issue that we would explore in more detail at the MDP.
Okay, can I put you then CASA's position in their answer on notice when I quizzed them about whether or not they required the airport to use the factoring, which is the operational requirements pilots have to comply with. CASA's response was, and I quote, "An airport operator can build a runway to the length they wish, and it's the responsibility of the pilot of the aircraft to assess if that length with the given environment factors of the day of operation is adequate for the aircraft to take off or land on the runway in question." And so if you're relying on CASA to give you assurance that the airport has done its calculations properly, and CASA's view is the airport can do whatever they like and the pilot must adapt, how are you going to enforce the intent of MOS 139 that we don't degrade the capability of an airport? Because under that current interpretation by CASA and what's been proposed at the moment at Archerfield, it would degrade the airport for the operators of at least three of the most common light charter twin aircraft.
Senator, that would be a concern to us if that was the result. I can't answer you in detail at this stage except to say that that is the issue that we would look at in an MDP process. And from what you say, it sounds like we need to be very careful about the question that we asked to make sure that we got advice which gave us a clear, a proper answer about whether this is likely to impact the traffic and the future traffic at the airport.
So as well as asking CASA, would you also ask the operators for input as to what the impact would be on them with the factors that CASA required them to impose upon their operations?
Senator, one part of the MDP process is a consultation with stakeholders and the public for that matter in the process, and we would welcome that sort of input from the operators about the effect that a proposal would have on their operations and their aspirations for the airport.
And can you give any guarantee to this committee that if that feedback indicated that proposed change would degrade the operational capability of the airport, that approval would not be granted?
Senator, I can only indicate what I think is the inclination of us as the department who would be providing advice. At the end of the day, it's the decision rests with the minister, and I can't speculate about the range of issues that might come into play.
But would you recommend an MDP be approved if it degraded the operational capability of an airport?
I think I've indicated in my previous answer, Senator, we certainly would be looking to maintain the capacity of the airport.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
So, I mean, obviously what I raised earlier, Mr Murdoch, that is the risk to general aviation because the land is worth more to put units of factories on it than land airplanes on it, which in the long-term corporate interest of the owner might mean, bugger it, we don't need the planes. We really do need to put some thought in how are we going to protect the long-term future of general aviation. I mean, Bankstown Crosswind Air, that thing is a really good example. It just snuck up on us.
Everybody else is being disappointed.
Yeah, anyhow, we'll come to it. Thank you very much and we'll move on.